Welcome to my channel Old Valuable Coins. If you're a coin lover or treasure hunter, listen closely, because some rare United States 1-cent coins are worth thousands of dollars today. The 1909 SVDB Lincoln cent, one of the most famous key dates, can sell for huge money in high grades. The 1914 D penny is another jackpot find, often bringing incredible prices when well preserved. And don't forget the legendary 1955 double die penny, known for its dramatic doubling that collectors chase non-stop. Even modern cents like the 1969 S double die and rare 1992 close AM varieties can sell for massive amounts at auction. Check your pocket change, check your old jars, and you might be holding a rare penny worth more than gold. Keep watching for more valuable American coins. Coin number 1. The 1959 1-cent coin from the United States is one of the most talked about and highly searched Lincoln cents, and today we are diving deep into everything collectors want to know. This is the very first year of the Lincoln Memorial reverse design, replacing the wheat cent reverse used since 1909. Because of that major design change, the 1959 penny has an important place in US coin history, making it a strong keyword in the numismatic world. In this video, we explore its history, its minting details, rare varieties, errors, and the factors that can make a 1959 penny far more valuable than its face value. The year 1959 marked the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth, and to honor this milestone, the U.S. Mint introduced the new memorial reverse designed by Frank Gasparro. On the obverse, Victor David Brenner's portrait of Lincoln remained unchanged, maintaining the classic look collectors already loved. The obverse carries the inscriptions "In God We Trust," "Liberty," and the date 1959, while the reverse displays the Lincoln Memorial, United States of America, E Pluribus Unum, and 1 cent. This design was used for nearly 50 years, so having the very first year of this series makes the 1959 penny historically significant. The 1959 penny was minted in 2 locations: Philadelphia, which produced coins without a mint mark, and Denver, which used the D mint mark. Combined, the mintage for 1959 pennies was extremely high, over a billion coins, so most examples are common. However, collectors still search for coins with sharp strikes, bright original luster, and clean surfaces. Even though the coin is common, high-quality examples can attract collector interest, especially from those building sets by date and mint. Now let's talk about what truly excites collectors: rare errors and varieties from 1959. One of the most famous stories involves the claimed 1959 D wheat reverse penny, which showed the old wheat design on the back instead of the Lincoln Memorial. While its authenticity was widely debated, the coin still became famous in the collecting community. Although most experts agree that a genuine wheat reverse 1959 penny is extremely unlikely, the story continues to draw attention to the 1959 cent and keeps collectors searching through pocket change. Because of the high mintage, regular 1959 pennies are usually worth face value in circulated condition. But collectors are always looking for coins with strong eye appeal, and bright, red-toned examples with minimal marks are far more desirable. The color of a copper coin matters a lot. Collectors classify copper pennies as red, red-brown, or brown, depending on how much of the original mint color remains. A 1959 penny with rich blazing red color and sharp details can be significantly more valuable than a dull brown example. The luster, strike quality, and lack of spots or blemishes increase a coin's desirability among collectors. Another important factor is mint errors from 1959. Errors such as off-center strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, and double dies can add tremendous value. A strong double die obverse or reverse from 1959 can attract major attention from collectors because such varieties are much harder to find than regular strikes. Even a dramatic misaligned die, a broad strike, or a clearly visible die break can make a 1959 penny worth several dollars or more depending on the severity and eye appeal of the error. Error collectors are always searching for unique pieces that stand out in the hobby. There are also repunched mint mark varieties for the 1959 D penny. These are coins where the D mint mark was punched twice, leaving traces of the earlier punch visible. These small varieties can be subtle but highly collectible. Tiny details like extra thickness on the lettering or slight extra outlines on the mint mark can make a coin more desirable for those who build specialized collections. Even though most of these varieties are often overlooked by beginners, experienced collectors know they can bring surprising value. The 1959 penny also appeals to collectors because it represents a transition in American coinage. The wheat cent design had been used for 50 years, and the switch to the Lincoln Memorial symbolized modern America. For many collectors, owning the first year of a new design series is a key part of completing a set. As time goes on, even common coins from earlier decades become harder to find in original condition. Most 1959 pennies have been heavily circulated, so finding clean, well-preserved examples becomes more challenging each year. Another interesting point is that the 1959 penny comes from an era when coins were still made of 95% copper. This makes early Lincoln Memorial cents feel more traditional, heavier, and richer in color than the later zinc pennies introduced in 1982. Many collectors prefer copper cents because of their durability and beautiful natural toning. Over time, copper coins can develop attractive shades like red gold, honey brown, and even rainbow tones, all of which can make them more desirable. If you're searching through old coin jars, rolls, or collections, the 1959 penny is definitely a date worth checking closely. Look for strong details on Lincoln's hair, beard, and coat, as well as crisp lines on the Lincoln Memorial. Search for any unusual doubling, extra thickness, die cracks, or incomplete edges. These small details can dramatically increase the value of a coin. Also watch for bright original luster, as many 1959 pennies lost their shine over decades of circulation. Collectors also appreciate 1959 pennies with interesting toning patterns. A naturally toned 1959 penny with attractive colors can bring extra interest because each toned coin is unique. Whether it shows golden hues, deep red surfaces, or a smooth chocolate brown finish, toning can give a coin personality and make it stand out from ordinary examples. As you explore the world of Lincoln cents, the 1959 penny remains one of the most researched and frequently searched dates due to its historical significance and intriguing stories. It marks the beginning of a long-running Lincoln Memorial series and continues to attract collectors looking for valuable coins, rare errors, and high-quality examples. This coin is an excellent entry point for new collectors and a rewarding piece for experienced hobbyists who enjoy studying varieties and hunting for hidden treasures. The value of a 1959 penny ultimately depends on quality, condition, and whether it carries any rare features or errors. While most examples may be common, the thrill of finding something unique keeps collectors searching through rolls and old coin stashes. The combination of history, design, and the potential for rare discoveries makes the 1959 Lincoln cent a timeless favorite in the world of American coins. Coin number 2. Stay tuned because every second brings important information that could help you find a valuable coin right in your pocket or collection. The 1974 Lincoln cent belongs to the long-running series that began in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. By 1974, the penny was already familiar to every American, but the year brought a major turning point. Inflation was rising, copper prices were increasing, and the U.S. Mint began experimenting with alternative compositions. As a result, the 1974 penny became part of one of the most intriguing coin experiments in U.S. history. Most 1974 pennies are made of the standard bronze alloy used for decades, consisting of 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin. However, rumors, tests, and special mint trials created one of the most legendary coins ever discussed by collectors, the 1974 aluminum penny. While regular 1974 cents are common, rare errors, high-grade examples, and transitional pieces are worth far more than many people realize. If you're holding a regular 1974 penny, it will show the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln facing right, designed by Victor David Brenner. The reverse features the Lincoln Memorial, a design used from 1959 through 2008. Even though hundreds of millions of these coins were minted, their values can vary widely depending on condition, strike quality, and mint mark. 3 main U.S. mint locations produce the 1974 cent: Philadelphia with no mint mark, Denver with a D mint mark, and San Francisco with an S mint mark, mostly for proof coins. Each mint has its own varieties, possible errors, and grading potential that influence value. Let's begin with the Philadelphia 1974 penny. With over 4 billion produced, it's one of the most common modern coins, but that doesn't mean all of them are worthless. High-grade mint state examples, especially those with exceptionally sharp strikes and full details, are highly desirable. Collectors look for pennies that show no wear, no scratches, and strong luster. Even 1-cent coins from the 1970s can reach impressive auction prices when they are preserved perfectly. For example, a 1974 penny graded at the highest levels can sell for hundreds of dollars or more among collectors seeking register-quality coins. The key is flawless surfaces and bright, original luster. Even minor imperfections can reduce value, which is why not many high-end examples exist today despite the huge mintage. Next is the 1974 D penny from the Denver Mint. With more than 4 billion minted, it is also extremely common in circulation, but like the Philadelphia version, extra value comes in high-grade mint state coins. Denver coins are known for sharp strikes, but they can also show common issues such as bag marks, planchette flaws, or weak steps on Lincoln Memorial details. A perfect 1974 D penny is extremely hard to find because everyday circulation quickly damaged most coins. Pristine coins stored away at the time of minting are the real treasures today. Exceptional 1974 D examples can reach premium values among collectors who compete for the best-known surviving coins. Now we come to one of the most talked-about versions, the 1974 S penny from the San Francisco Mint. Unlike the billions minted in Philadelphia and Denver, the 1974 S cents were made mostly as proof coins for collectors. Proof coins are specially struck using polished dies to create mirror-like surfaces and sharp details. These coins were never intended for circulation and are usually found only in proof sets. When kept in perfect condition, they can attract high demand from collectors of proof Lincoln cents. However, the real excitement is not the proof version itself, but a unique experiment connected to the San Francisco Mint, the 1974 aluminum cent. In the early 1970s, rising copper prices pushed the U.S. Mint to consider switching the penny's material from bronze to something cheaper. Aluminum was tested as a possible replacement, and in 1974 the Mint produced a limited number of aluminum cents as trial pieces. These were intended only for internal review, and almost all of them were supposed to be destroyed. But a few escaped destruction. These rare aluminum pennies became the center of controversy. The U.S. government declared that they were never authorized for circulation and demanded that any surviving pieces be returned. A handful are believed to still exist, mostly in private hands or returned to the Mint. These experimental coins are considered priceless numismatic artifacts and are illegal to own publicly, which adds even more mystery and fascination to the story. If one ever came to auction, it would be worth an enormous amount, potentially hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars because of rarity and historical importance. Outside of the aluminum penny, there are many collectible error coins from 1974 that can command strong prices. Popular errors include double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, and coins struck on the wrong metal. A strong double die obverse or reverse can instantly turn an ordinary penny into a valuable treasure. Off-center errors showing 10% to 50% misalignment are also desirable, especially when the date remains fully visible. Error collectors love dramatic mint mistakes, and certain 1974 penny errors have sold for impressive amounts. It's always worth checking any unusual coin you find because mint mistakes can transform a simple bronze cent into a rare collectible. Grading plays a major role in determining the value of any 1974 penny. The difference between a circulated coin and a high mint state example can be dramatic. Coins that show no wear, full detail, and original color often receive top grades and bring premium prices. Even subtle differences in luster or surface quality can significantly raise or lower the coin's value. That's why collectors and investors pay close attention to strike quality, color designation such as red, red-brown, or brown, and overall eye appeal. The redder and more vibrant the coin, the more desirable it tends to be, especially for older Lincoln cents that usually turn brown over time. When searching your coins, always examine the date, the mint mark, the condition, and any unusual characteristics. Some of the most valuable 1974 pennies discovered have been the result of collectors checking pocket change or old jars of coins. The modern era of coin collecting has made many people realize that even coins from the 1970s can hold hidden treasures. With billions of 1974 pennies produced, the chances of finding rare errors or high-grade examples remain strong if you look carefully. The 1974 penny also holds historical importance because it represents the last full year before the public debate over the aluminum cent came to an end. By 1975, the copper penny remained unchanged, but the discussions of metal shortages and cost-saving measures continued for years afterward, eventually leading to a change in 1982 when the composition finally switched to a copper-plated zinc planchette. This makes the 1974 penny an important precursor to a major era of transformation in U.S. coinage. Collectors love coins that mark transitions, and the 1974 cent remains a symbol of economic pressures, experimental minting, and debates over tradition versus practicality. Another reason the 1974 penny remains popular is its accessibility. Almost everyone has seen one, held one, or possibly even saved one. Coin number 3, the 1981 cent coin from the United States, is part of the long-running Lincoln Memorial Cent series, minted from 1959 to 2008. This coin features the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner on the obverse, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse designed by Frank Gasparo. The 1980 penny is made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, since the composition change to copper-plated zinc did not occur until 1982. This makes the 1980 penny heavier and more durable than later zinc pennies, and many collectors prefer copper cents for their rich color, metallic ring, and overall quality. The Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint produced the 1980 pennies. Philadelphia struck the regular 1980 penny with no mint mark, and Denver struck the 1980D penny. Together, these mints produced billions of 1980 cents, making this one of the highest mintage years of Lincoln Memorial cents. Because of the huge production numbers, most 1980 pennies are common in circulation, but high-grade examples, rare varieties, and famous minting errors can make a 1980 penny worth far more than 1 cent. That is why so many collectors search for 1980 pennies in rolls, old jars, and inherited collections. One of the most important things to understand about the 1980 penny is that condition matters greatly. A well-preserved copper cent can show sharp details in Lincoln's hair, beard, lettering, and the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. High-grade examples with a strong strike, full original luster, and minimal contact marks can be worth significantly more than typical circulated pennies. Uncirculated 1980 pennies with bright red luster are particularly desirable, and collectors often pay strong premiums for certified examples that show sharp details and original mint brilliance. Although the 1980 penny is common, rare errors and varieties bring strong value in the marketplace. One of the most famous things to look for is off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing because the coin was not properly centered during minting. An off-center 1980 penny showing 5 to 75% off-center while still displaying the full date can be extremely valuable to collectors who specialize in dramatic errors. Double-struck pennies from 1980 also exist, where the coin received 2 separate impressions from the dies. These errors are easily recognizable because the second strike overlays the first in an unusual way that instantly catches the eye. Another valuable error to look for on a 1980 penny is the broad strike error. A broad-struck coin occurs when the collar that normally holds the coin in place during minting fails to engage, causing the coin to spread wider than normal. These errors have a smooth, slightly wider appearance and can be worth much more than a regular penny. Missing mint mark anomalies, die cracks around Lincoln's portrait, reverse die breaks, and cuds, where parts of the die break off, leaving raised blobs of metal on the coin, are especially collectible on 1980 pennies. Collectors also search for repunched mint marks on 1980D pennies. Although the US Mint had improved mint mark punching procedures by 1980, repunched mint marks are still found on some coins. These RPM varieties show doubling or shifts in the D mint mark and can bring strong premiums depending on clarity, position, and demand among variety collectors. One of the most exciting things about collecting 1980 pennies is that valuable examples can still be found directly in circulation today. Because copper cents have a long lifespan and the US still has billions of them circulating, it is entirely possible to discover high-quality or error 1980 pennies in pocket change, coin rolls, coin machines, or inherited collections. Many collectors report finding bright red uncirculated 1980 pennies in old rolls or coin jars that people saved decades ago. Searching through copper penny rolls is one of the best ways to locate well-preserved 1980 cents that may have been stored since the year of issue. Another important factor for collectors is the copper value of the 1980 penny itself. Each 1980 penny contains about 2.5 grams of 95% copper. While melting US cents is prohibited, the intrinsic metal value often makes copper pennies popular among collectors and hoarders who appreciate the long-term value of copper as a commodity. This adds an extra layer of interest for the 1980 penny, especially as fewer copper cents appear in circulation over time. To determine whether your 1980 penny has extra value, you should begin by examining the coin under good lighting. Look for strong details, sharp lines, and original red mint luster. Check the date and mint mark carefully. Evaluate the surfaces for scratches, wear, or discoloration. Pay attention to high-grade characteristics like clean fields, crisp lettering, and well-defined steps on the Lincoln Memorial. Most circulated 1980 pennies are common, but those with exceptional eye appeal can stand out. Next, examine your 1980 penny for errors or varieties. Look at the mint mark under magnification if it is a 1980D search for doubling, misaligned strikes, rotated dies, or unusual marks that suggest minting irregularities. Check the edges for spreading that could indicate a broad strike error. Look at the reverse for die cracks between the columns of the memorial or across the lettering. Every unusual detail has potential value to the right collector. Collectors often pay more for 1980 pennies with unique toning. Some coins acquire attractive rainbow colors from long-term storage in old envelopes, coin albums, or containers. While toning must be natural and not artificially added, naturally toned copper pennies can be extremely desirable to specialists who appreciate originality and visual appeal. The 1980 penny also holds historical importance. It represents a time when copper cents were still being minted before the 1982 transition to zinc. It is part of the classic Lincoln Memorial series that many people grew up with and remember from childhood. For new collectors, the 1980 penny is an excellent introduction to learning about die varieties, mint errors, and coin grading. For experienced collectors, it is a year full of search potential, especially in high-grade or error forms. As you continue collecting, it is helpful to compare your 1980 pennies with other nearby years like 1979, 1981, and 1982 to understand how design, copper quality, and strike strength differ from year to year. The 1980 penny is often sharper and heavier than the zinc pennies that followed, and this difference is noticeable when handling coins side by side. Another interesting aspect of the 1980 penny is how it performs in the coin market today. While most examples remain affordable, the best high-grade pieces, the rare error coins, and the most dramatic varieties inspire competitive demand among collectors who seek standout examples for their collections. Online marketplaces, auctions, and coin shows frequently highlight unusual or high-quality 1980 pennies that surprise collectors with strong prices. Coin number 4, and we will explore the 1991 D Lincoln penny was struck at the Denver Mint, identified by the small d mint mark located under the date on the obverse. In 1991, the United States Mint produced billions of pennies, and Denver alone struck well over 5 billion examples of the 1991 D cent. Even though it's a modern coin, collectors still pay attention to this issue because it falls into the era of copper-plated zinc cents. Since 1982, the U.S. Mint transitioned from solid bronze composition to copper-plated zinc, which changed the weight, durability, and long-term appearance of the coin. These zinc cents are more prone to corrosion, plating bubbles, and surface issues, and that makes high-quality preserved examples much harder to find today than people expect. Let's talk about the design. On the obverse is the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, first designed in 1909 by Victor David Brenner. It remains one of the most iconic designs in all of American coinage. The motto "In God We Trust" appears above Lincoln's head, liberty to the left, and the date 1991 with the D mint mark to the right. Even on a coin struck in the billions, the sharpness of Lincoln's hair, beard, and coat details can vary dramatically depending on the striking pressure, die wear, and circulation. Collectors carefully examine these features when searching for the most visually appealing examples. On the reverse is the Lincoln Memorial, a design used from 1959 to 2008. It features the full monument with the tiny but visible statue of Lincoln inside if the strike is strong. Above the memorial is United States of America, with the phrase E pluribus unum centered beneath it, and at the bottom the denomination 1 cent. While most 1991 D pennies look similar on casual inspection, differences in die wear, clash marks, die polishing lines, and subtle die deterioration can make individual coins unique. The reverse design may show weak steps, soft lettering, or blurred columns when the dies were heavily used. Now let's talk about why this coin matters to collectors and what makes certain 1991 D pennies stand out. Even though billions were made, only a tiny fraction survive in exceptional condition. Zinc cents degrade much more quickly than earlier bronze coins, so a 1991 D penny that still retains sharp detail, smooth surfaces, and clean luster is far more unusual than the numbers suggest. Collectors often search rolls and bags looking for well-struck, untoned examples with minimal spots, scratches, or plating issues. There are also recognized errors and varieties that can make a 1991 D penny valuable. One of the most commonly searched errors is the wide AM variety, although it is extremely rare for 1991. In most years from 1990 to 1992, the spacing between the A and M in America is very close. A wide AM on a 1991 D would be a dramatic and exciting find. Another thing collectors search for is the reverse design type. Some dates in this era were accidentally struck with proof dies, creating subtle differences in spacing and letter placement. Any unusual spacing between letters, unusual separation, or different styling of the FG initials near the memorial can be a sign that the coin deserves closer inspection. Plating errors also appear on this date. Because copper-plated zinc coins are made by striking a zinc core that is coated with a thin copper layer, mistakes in the plating process can cause bubbles, flakes, cracks, and exposed zinc. Some plating bubbles form raised bumps on the surface, while others cause small missing copper patches. Dramatic plating issues can make the coin interesting to collectors. Another error to watch for is off-center strikes. If the design is shifted noticeably, sometimes by 5%, 10%, or even more, these pieces become sought after. Off-center 1991D pennies with full date and clear mint mark are especially desirable. There are also broad strikes, where the coin is struck without the retaining collar and ends up wider and flatter than normal. These errors give the coin a stretched look and can increase its value among collectors. Double die varieties are always popular. A strong double die on the date, mint mark area, or lettering would make the 1991D penny much more collectible. While major double dies are not widely documented for this year, minor machine doubling is common. Machine doubling is flat, shelf-like, and not valuable, but true double dies show rounded, intentional doubling created during die manufacturing. Careful collectors still check every 1991D penny, especially the motto and the lettering around the obverse, for any signs of unusual doubling. Next, let's talk about condition. When collectors examine a 1991D penny, they look for crisp details, especially in Lincoln's hair and beard. They also check the lettering on the reverse, including the sharpness of the memorial columns. Luster plays a big role. Coins freshly struck in 1991 would have had bright mint luster that reflects light in cartwheel fashion. Over time, luster fades from handling, friction, and environmental exposure. A coin with full original luster stands out immediately. Even though this penny is common, exceptional preservation makes it desirable. Color is another factor. Copper-plated zinc cents are graded and described as red, red-brown, or brown depending on how much of the original copper color remains. A fully red 1991D that has not darkened or spotted is much harder to find than people realize. Zinc cents often spot or streak over time, and even small imperfections can dramatically reduce their appeal. Collectors who assemble red sets of Lincoln Memorial cents know that 1991D is one of those coins where appearance varies widely. Now let's take a moment to explore the historical context. In 1991, the United States Mint continued high-volume production of the Lincoln cent because it remained essential in commerce. Even though inflation reduced the purchasing power of a penny, billions were still made because of vending machines, banking needs, and public demand. The Denver Mint played a major role in keeping the supply stable. This year sits near the middle of the copper-plated zinc era and marks a time when coin design, production technology, and die steel quality were evolving. Some dies lasted longer than in previous decades, which explains why die deterioration errors and worn die strikes are common for the date. If you are searching for valuable 1991D pennies in coin rolls or change, there are several things you should pay attention to. First, examine the date area. Make sure the 1991 and the D mint mark are clear and well struck. Look for any signs of doubling, unusual spacing, or distortion. Next, scan Lincoln's profile for sharp hair strands, distinct beard texture, and clean contours along the jaw and coat. The better these features look, the more impressive your coin will be. On the reverse, focus on the memorial steps, inner columns, and the tiny Lincoln statue inside. If these elements are sharp, your coin was struck with a fresh or well-maintained die. Collectors also recommend checking for rotational errors. By holding the coin and flipping it vertically, you can check whether both sides align perfectly. A rotated die error, even a small rotation, can make the coin worth more to collectors who enjoy unusual minting mistakes. Another thing to look for is die cracks, raised lines caused by fractures in the die that struck the coin. These can appear around the lettering, along the rim, or even across Lincoln's portrait. Some collectors build entire sets of die crack varieties,